In this lecture, we want to take a look at another multiple selection statement in C called switch. Now, and we are going to use switch to evaluate the problem that we evaluated with the multiple if selection statement. All right, so I have already created a file and I've named it switch.c. So as usual, what we are going to and I'm going to explain switch as we go along. So as usual, what we are going to do, we are going to prompt the user to enter a score. So let's go ahead and do so. So we are going to say print format enter a score. Okay, I don't want to print any new line after the prompt. Now I'm going to prompt the user to enter a score. Enter a score. Enter a score. Enter a score. So now the user is going to enter a score, and our program now we are going to proceed to accept the score. But before we accept the score, we have to declare the score variable within our program. So all in the previous programs, we have been declaring the score as floating point number because we believe a score cannot necessarily be an integer. A student can score something like 20.56, 30.12. So it might be a whole number, and even if it is an integer, 30.00 is the same thing as 30. They are equivalent. All right, it's all the same value. Only the data type varies. So, but in this case, a switch doesn't evaluate a floating point number. And we want to use switch to tackle this problem. But in this case, switch does not evaluate a floating point number. I will explain this. I will explain this as we go along. But we are going to declare our score variable this time around as integer, as int. So I'm going to say int score. So now I'm going to make it subscan F to get the score from the user. Decimal integer, and I'm going to store it under the school address. Right. So after a student has to enter a school, and let me specify that the user should enter a school. Enter a school rounded to the nearest integer, which could involve either rounding it off or rounding it down, as the case may be. So enter a score rounded to the nearest integer. So the user is going to enter the score as integer. So we have our score. Now and the next thing that we are going to do now, we are going to now make use of switch to now evaluate the score and print the appropriate grade. So I'm going to write switch. This is how the statement works. Switch, and then we'll have our condition. Now under the parentheses, we are going to write what we want the switch to evaluate for us. We want the switch to evaluate score. Now we want it to and switch. Now switch has what we call a case. Several cases. So if the case matches this, we know that the first range 70 to 100 is A, so we say 70 to 100. 70 to 100. Put grade A, and then break out of the switch. Okay, so in essence, what I'm saying is that the switch will now evaluate the score based on what the user has entered. Now evaluate it and then try to see if it matches this case, the first case, which happened to be our first case. If the score is anything within this range, 70 to 100, this is how we write a range in this case statement. Is anything from 70 to 100. if that value, if there is a match, then this statement should be printed, and then break out of the switch structure. So it is going to move and evaluate. If there is any statement after the switch, it's going to evaluate it, and we are going to see the result of the evaluation. If there is any statement, let's say there's any string to be printed at the end of the switch, then when it comes to this break, it will break away from the switch and come to this line number 23. So now before we go further, let's make sure that we are doing the right thing. I'm going to compile and run this program and then see our output. So I'm going to go to the terminal. I'm going to now compile gcc switch.c, and then I'm going to output it as switch. Okay, so we have number 19. We omitted a statement terminator. So let me go back and fix it. So here we are expecting a statement terminator. Let me save it, and then let's go back again and run it. So we run it again, switch. So there's no any issue. So now let me run it again and see switch. Enter a score rounded to the nearest integer. So we have, let's say the student has scored 76, grade A. So as we can see, our program is working perfectly. Now all we need to do is to go and enter the remaining ranges in the remaining cases of the using the case keyword in the switch statement. So let's go back to our text editor. So we come back here. And now the next thing we need to do, we need to put another case again. So we have another case. We see the next one is 60 to 69. 60 to 69. So we have what? We put where do we put? Grade B. This means terminator, and then we break. So let me just copy this so that to save time, I'm going to just copy this, and I'm going to paste it here. So the next one is 50 to 59, 50 to 59. We have grade A, grade B, grade C. And then the next one is 50 to 59. We have 45 to 49, 45 to 49, and we have grade A, grade D. Now we have the next case, which is 40 to 44. All right, let me remove this. 40 to 44. So we have 0 to 39. So 0 to 39 is the last condition. So in that case, we have what we call default. Default means if any of these other condition fails, then this should be executed. So we just put grade F, and then we break out of the switch. So I think break is not necessary, because a default case it's just a bit it won't do no harm to put the break to make sure that we are just exiting out of the switch statement. So this is how it's going to execute. Now let's go and compile this program and then see how it is going to work for us. So I'll just come here to the terminal here. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to recompile it again. All right, there's no any error again. Also, then we can switch, enter. So let's test another value. Say 56. We have grade C. Let's see, the student has scored 23, grade F. Let's see, the student has scored 44. We have grade E. So as we can see, our program is also working perfectly using switch multiple selection statement in C.